Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Glad to have this man back. It is Matt Gaetz, District 1 Republican, great state of Florida, Pensacola area where we're heard every single night. Matt, how are you? Good to talk to you again.
Oh, good to be with you, Pags, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about. Where do we go? Government funding that's running out in a few days, Mitch McConnell in the Senate trying to get us to deficit spend for other countries, or politics, man. You're driving.
Well, yeah, well, let's start with Ronna McDaniel, if you don't mind, because I got to tell you something, Matt. I thought she should have been gone after 2000. I didn't get how the right money wasn't put in the right places. I didn't get how lackluster the right seemed to be while the left was in like full battle mode. It was very strange to me that this person who was heading the RNC, nice enough lady, I've had her on the show, but not since like 16, but nice enough lady. I just don't think she understands that the left is not playing around. They've taken the gloves off a long time ago, and she seemed to just sort of be drifting through the process. I mean, 2000 we saw. We did not get the red wave we thought. 2002, we got a red trickle where you guys, thank God, got the House. It was time, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was not a supporter of Ronna McDaniel's. I think that she was more interested in the promotion of herself and RNC members than in some of the tactical legal work. And she made poor choices in terms of what law firms to retain. I think she was more interested in getting the glitzy named law firms, but then when the going got tough, a lot of those folks headed for the exits.
Right.
And we weren't operationalized to really battle it out to get evidentiary hearings in a lot of these jurisdictions. And I think the principal lesson we learned after the 2020 election is that you cannot allow fraud to occur and then hope that afterward there will be some remedy, because many of these courts will simply not exercise jurisdiction. So you have to stop it before it happens, and God forbid it does. You have to catch it in progress and obtain immediate relief so that polluted ballots aren't commingled with legitimate ballots.
Yeah.
And this guy who President Trump has endorsed, Whatley out of North Carolina, he had a massive team of like 1,500 lawyers throughout North Carolina that were doing some of that grunt work ahead of the election, during the voting process. It's one of the reasons why North Carolina was resilient against any type of voter fraud, and it's that kind of fighting spirit I think we need at the top of the RNC.
Are we allowed to say voter fraud? Because if we say it, they try to cancel us. If we say it, we're suspended from every social media. Are we allowed to admit that something really wrong happened in 2000?
Well, there's documented cases of voter fraud. I guess, folks want to disagree about the degree to which that fraud impacted outcomes. But
Right.
You had several states where it's tens of thousands of votes, and you had places in urban centers, in Fulton County, in Wayne County, Michigan, in the greater Philadelphia area, where the chain of custody did not create the same degree of confidence, to say the least, because it wasn't handled in the same way chain of custody was handled in the rural parts of those very same states.
Right.
There's been some progress in places like Georgia, where the legislature seemed to be very susceptible to humiliation, and thus they enhanced the signature requirements that Brad Raffensperger had signed away with the stroke of a pen to Stacey Abrams. Brian Kemp had really signed that away to Stacey Abrams
Right.
previously. So, look, I think that we can acknowledge that there's always efforts to play games in elections and to engage in fraud. The issue is, what are we doing about it? And I think by changing the leadership of the RNC, we've taken a positive step.
We've got to talk about. Well, let me finish on voting here, Matt. You and I both know you're a great lawyer. I don't know why any court didn't take it up, but you and I both know that there are states where the legislatures did not say yes to mail-in voting, yet ballots were counted that were mailed in. They shouldn't have been. I don't care if there's COVID. I don't care if there's a civil war going on. It doesn't matter. You should be the legislature either by constitution makes the decision on how elections will be prosecuted in their states, or they don't. And I thought they did. For some reason, they counted these mail-in ballots. Are we away from the mail-in ballot issue this coming November, or can anybody mail in a ballot to anybody they want and put it in a Mark Zuckerberg box and get it counted?
Yeah, as you and I both know, that's different in different states, and
Yes.
we haven't made as much progress as we should have. I do not believe anyone should get a ballot mailed to them at a minimum if they don't ask for it. I can't even believe that's a controversial position to take,
Right.
because the indiscriminate mailing of mail-in ballots is precisely what creates a massive universe of, at times, hundreds of thousands of ballots millions in some large states that are possible to be voted without any person actually intending to cast those votes. So look, part of this means that we got to have Republican secretaries of state, Republican attorneys general that don't operate outside the law.
Right.
And then we have to have state legislatures that actually rein in officials that color outside the lines. We've got a few brave state legislators that are doing that in Pennsylvania and Arizona, but they need backup too.
I've got to talk to you about what you started out with, and it's the funding. If I hear purse strings one more time, and then nobody in the House you want to, but most of the House of Representatives is wishy-washy about actually acting like you have control of the money. Let it Matt, listen, I'm an American. I love our country. I don't want people to go without a paycheck for a couple of weeks, but let it shut down and get what you want. We gave you guys control of the House. Where are we on spending? Where are we on the next budget or the next CR?
Well, you're not going to like this, but I'm just going to tell you the truth. The truth is that we have a 2-seat majority in the United States Congress, and we have no majority for spending cuts on almost any issue.
Wow.
The willingness to deficit spend can count on its coalition, every single Democrat, and about half the Republicans. And there are, those of us who are trying to drive spending cuts or offsets. We'd like the spending of our government to reflect the policy choices that could secure the border, that could stop the weaponization of our government. And what happens in the meetings about these questions is that you get more than half of the Republicans who are hand-wringing and bedwetting, and they just say that they can't take any of the criticism that would come with a shutdown.
Wow.
Now, I'm no like cheerleader for shutdowns. I don't like hope that tomorrow brings a shutdown, but I also understand that in divided government, you have to be willing to use some leverage.
Right.
And our leverage is the power of the purse. And if we're unwilling to use it, then our people will be trampled. But ultimately, we're right now at the beginning of primary season, starts March 5th in Texas, Ohio, rolls through September in New Hampshire, and we're going to need a different fighting class of Republicans if you want us to fight for spending cuts. That's just the truth.
Representative Matt Gaetz, you know that I'm sitting here in Texas, not far from the border in San Antonio, and we're watching what's going on, and it's not getting any better. Now suddenly Biden says it's MAGA Republicans, it's America First Republicans, it's Matt Gaetz, it's Donald Trump. That's the reason why it's broken. And then we hear everybody in Congress, we've got to throw billions of more dollars at the border. That's going to fix it. When, Matt, you and I both know that 94 executive actions taken by this guy when he took office in January of 2021, that's what broke the border. You just go back to the Trump-era policies and then maybe negotiate how asylum works or how fill-in-the-blank works, parole works. But just go back to those policies and you fix it tomorrow. If you guys were to say, let's give you $100 billion more dollars on the border, what does that fix? Nothing.
Well, that would be like saying that the way to fix a fire hydrant that is spewing water is to spend more money buying more buckets.
Exactly right.
Ultimately,
exactly.
You're fighting a losing battle there. You have to stop the flow, and President Trump's policies did that. We put the downward pressure on the flow that's so desperately needed right now. And look, everybody remembers, Pags, that first Democrat presidential debate where they asked who believed that there should be free health care for illegal immigrants, and Joe Biden raised his hand.
Yep.
Every one of them raised their hand. And, they're not going to blame us for the border. We're going to remind the American people it's the pull factor of providing free stuff to desperate people from anywhere in the world, combined with a completely open border that leads us to this invasion that we're enduring. And I don't, the polling still shows the American people placing the blame where it belongs here. And one thing I put on all these government funding bills, I put a requirement in there that only U.S. citizens can participate in U.S. elections on any government funding bill, because with 10 million of them in this country, if they start playing games letting illegal aliens vote, this could be a dispositive number of people diluting the votes of legitimate American ballots cast.
U.S. Representative Matt Gaetz, District 1 Republican, great state of Florida. Pensacola is where you should go tomorrow to see Matt and Don Jr. and also Michael Seifert. When it comes to Russia, it didn't work the first time. And now suddenly Russia collusion, Russia's interference, and Putin loves Trump, although Putin just said he'd rather have Biden than Trump, honestly, last week. That's a great endorsement for Biden. But here's what's going on, Matt. I want to just very quickly fill you in on an X space over the weekend. This guy, Lev Parnas, is out there, and this is what Lev Parnas wants us to believe. We should believe the Burisma CEO that hired Hunter Biden for $1 million a year, who had no experience in energy, doesn't speak Ukrainian, but we should believe that CEO, that the guy who wrote the FD 1023 is somehow lying about the Bidens getting money from Russia or from oligarchs in Ukraine. This is the push by the left in this country. They're all saying it now. Russia is involved. Russia, this guy lied that everybody a year ago said was a reliable source for 10 years at the FBI. Now the Smirnov guy is just a liar, and Lev Pernis knows that the guy over at Burisma, he's above reproach, even though Joe Biden said, I won't give you the $1 billion if you don't fire a guy looking into Burisma. Matt, it's all very confusing, but I think I just set the stage pretty well. And by the way, I took Lev Pernis down very, very badly on our next space this weekend because he's an idiot. But having said all of that, there are people who are listening to you and me right now who will believe that Putin somehow is again trying to help Trump, not that he ever did before. How do you respond to that? How do you get ahead of that?
Well, usually when you're busting up a bribe scheme, you can count on the bribe payer to be dishonest.
You think?
During the pendency of the investigation. I can't even believe I have to say that out loud.
Right.
But just for context, I mean, Lev Parnas is a guy who's literally pled guilty to providing false information to the FBI and stuff kind of in and around the fraud and money laundering space.
Right.
Because he was trying to get his nose under the tent in U.S. elections. So when it comes to kind of the shady underworld of Eastern European intersection with American politics, Lev Parnas is at the center of that in the worst of ways. Smirnov is someone who had made a number of cases for the FBI, had been authorized even to engage in illegal activity on behalf of the investigations he was helping on. You only do that with people that are very sensitive. Also keep in mind that when we asked for that 1023 form, we were told by the Department of Justice we couldn't get it because it was so sensitive to national security. So if it was a lie the whole time, why was the Department of Justice so unwilling to to disabuse the Congress of that knowledge?
Right.
At the end of the day, the Hunter Biden business operation was a money laundering scheme to get cash to the Biden family, and the only thing they were providing in exchange for that cash was access to Joe Biden and really the prowess of Joe Biden's government positions and what those government positions could do for the foreigners paying money. And we saw that play out in Burisma with the Hungarians, with the Chinese, with James Biden, Hunter's uncle, Joe's brother. And the country sees this operation for what it was. And I look forward to taking Hunter Biden's deposition on Wednesday.
I think the simplest way to ask the question is, what is the product, the Biden family product, other than Joe's sway and Joe's position? Is there are they selling chocolate or something that I don't know about? What else can they possibly offer anybody to receive any money? Even, let's say that Hunter Biden, that $1 million a year was not dirty, and I think it was. Okay, what did he offer to get it? That's all I want to know.
So what they say behind closed doors is that they offered their advice about acquisition opportunities. And then when you pull back the layers of the curtain and say, okay, well, what opportunities, which were closed on, it's all a joke. It's all not a deal.
That's a great question.
It is a bribe masquerading as an investment venture.
Matt, we appreciate you giving us the time as you always do, and let's talk again soon, my friend. Thank you.
All right, take it easy, Pax.
All right, brother. We're back after this. Stay right here.